You can see it now, right?
Yes, it's about to start.
Okay. Are we good?
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. My topic, as we said earlier, key contributions of African women in history, shaping the African's trajectory. Here we're trying to look at what the women have done in the past, because I believe we don't have a story without mentioning the achievements of women that have done great things in the past. Having to celebrate the African women leaders, definitely their recognition cannot be overlooked. And the issue of women empowerment, women's rights has to start a long time ago. Sorry, my slides are a bit slow. Okay, yeah. So the introduction here, we have African women have played a vital role in shaping African history. Their contributions as leaders, activists, artists, and entrepreneurs have left a lasting impact. So this presentation explores and celebrates significant achievements of African women throughout history. So basically, as I said earlier, our story cannot be complete without their story. We need to mention some of these achievements. And based on this presentation, I tried to pick some key areas, as I said, looking at entrepreneurship, leadership, activists, artists. I picked 2 African leaders from each of these sectors, because I know we have a lot of them. But I decided, okay, just for time and just talk about the basic. Under leadership, I got Queen Nziga. Then we also have Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, which we can't even talk about African women leaders without talking about Ellen Johnson. Then under activism, we have Wangari Maathai and we have Miriam Makeba. Then under artists, we have a great writer, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie and Fatoumata Diarra. Then under entrepreneurship, we have Folorunsho Alakija and Bethlehem Tilahon Alim. So this, all right. So as I said, the first woman I'm talking about under leadership is Queen Nziga. Queen Nziga, a fearless 17th century queen who led the resistance against Portuguese colonization in what is now Angola. In 1627, after forming alliance with former rival states, she led her army against the Portuguese, initiating a 30-year war against them. She exploited European rivalry by forging an alliance with the Dutch, who had conquered Luanda in 1641. With their help, Nziga defeated a Portuguese army in 1647. This particular woman is so special. Like, I read a lot about her. She's a very special woman, looking at from her birth and how she was able to grow through all the challenges in life to become who she is. If we can remember, during the years of slavery, this woman stood up against all odds to fight for her people. Nziga was born as a girl in her own local community, where her brothers, after the death of her father who was killed, her brother became the king. Along the line, this particular woman, due to her bravery, she could stand for anything. Then she was looked like a boy, because as you're trying to navigate your ways as a woman, sometimes they call you all sorts of names. So they call you tomboy, they call you this. She was so brave and very good with negotiation. But after she was married, she gave birth to a son. Her brother, who was so jealous of her, had to kill that son, the only son she gave birth to. And she was also sterilized so that she cannot give birth to any child again. So this is the story of Queen Nziga, but I don't want to go in details to her story, but she went through a lot. Here I'm going to talk about some of her challenges. So her major contributions now of Queen Nziga to that community is, number one, which we talked about, resistance against Portuguese colonization. Queen Nziga, also known as Nziga Mbadi, led the Mbadu people of present-day of present-day Angola in a fierce resistance against Portuguese colonization during the 17th century. She fought against Portuguese on her territory, making strategic alliance and empowering all whatever she, because if you listen to her story carefully or just go and study about her, she led a group of army, but in her ways of negotiation, and that is why I felt women have a lot to contribute. She was able to navigate her ways because the Portuguese were already coming, using the Angola people, her own community for slaves, for their own benefits and all. But she had to find a way to really help our people. And she now made an alliance with the Dutch, who are also coming for the same reason. But they felt that they can't achieve that without fighting the Portuguese out of that country. So please excuse me. So she had to do that, and now collided with those people, or a kind of make an alliance with those to fight the Portuguese out for her own people to survive. So she had a lot to go through, and she had a lot of negotiation and strategy in place. And then diplomatic negotiation, as I said, even when her brother was leading, was the king of her community, Nziga was called upon to serve as ambassador because they felt she has all it takes to negotiate, and she was able to negotiate those with the Portuguese to have a kind of peace, because then her people were dying. So she needed to, that was when she even converted to a Christian, just for her to have the Portuguese let her people live in peace. But along the line, she had to change strategy. So she was very good with diplomatic negotiation. Then promotion of women's rights. It is known, gender inequality have been in existence like very long time ago. We struggle with societal norms, looking at women more on the gender roles, stay at home, get married, those things. But this particular woman said no. No, she refused to give up all those. She stood up for what she solely believed is right. And she looked at her father as a role model. Her father was the king there and stood for her people. Military leadership, as I said, she led a team of armies to fight the Portuguese for the peace of her own people. The legacy of resistance, of course, we know. We can't talk about all this. I said this is a woman who her son was killed, who was sterilized, who had to face a lot of challenges, but she never gave up. So these are her major contributions when it comes to leadership. Then we also have some of our challenges. Of course, I decided to bring these challenges to make you understand that whatever we're going through, a lot of us go through a lot, but we just need to understand that with perseverance, we will scale through. This is a true life story of this woman. And as I said, these are some of her major challenges. Portuguese colonization. Queen Nziga faced the immense challenge of resisting the powerful Portuguese forces who sought to colonize her territory. The oppressive tactics and advanced weaponry of the colonizers presented formidable obstacles in her quest for independence. We all know that. So this is something that it was a challenge on her own part. They had all the weapons, they have everything they need. Then it's just a local community in African country, which we already were known as slaves those days, but she resisted all those things. Then we talked about all the social norm of patriarchal society, where we have women have been looked down upon. So she had issues of just being a woman, standing up for what is right. She has political intrigues. Within her own community, she was fighting like two enemies within, those that are feeling like, no, she doesn't deserve to be there, or we are better than her, and all that. These are within her own community. And the Portuguese that she was already fighting. So it was a messy situation for her, but she was able to scale through. Limited resources. These are some of the things that she didn't have. As I said, we talked about financial support. We talked about weapons and all. She had limited resources, but she fought for 30 years just to gain freedom for her people. Then we talk about limited international support, which she didn't have support because Africans those days were just seen as just mere slaves. Were just used like objects and animals. So of course, not like today where we have some of the international support coming here and there when we are probably not there. But those days it wasn't that way, but she fought through it. Then we have the second person, which is someone too that I said, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. The first female African president serving as Liberia's president from 2006 to 2018, advocating for peace, reconciliation, and women's rights. This particular woman, for me, it's really a role model for a lot. Looking at her story too as well, from where she's coming from. You know, there was a time she was in prison for a year. She was supposed to be in prison for 10 years, but along the line, she spent only a year. And the day she was going out of the prison, even the prisoners, the whole prison was like, you know, so this is a woman that has fought. She made women understand that ability to speak out. Let's be vocal. Let's talk about our challenges. Let's discuss this. So she was a very vocal person, and she's very good. She has all her powers in peace building. We all know Liberia. Liberia is a country that has been in war upon war, coup, and all those things have been happening in Liberia. They never had peace, not until Ellen Johnson came. And from her story, for me personally, there's something I take that I got that is very, very important to everyone. People should stop underestimating the power and contributions of women when it comes to peace building, negotiation, conflict resolution. Because in Liberia, it's really a case study. When the military were killing people, you know, there was a lot of civil unrest, civil war and all. The women used their power, they protest, they went on the street, they slept on the street, they went on even sex strike. Yeah, for months. And they used music. They will come sing to the soldiers until the soldiers surrendered their arms, and those arms were taken back to UN and all that. So this is the power of a woman when it comes to peace building, negotiation, and conflict resolution. This should never be underestimated. And that is one story that I love about Liberia and what Ellen Johnson has done in Liberia, where she built the country from, you know, when a country has gone into war and all, there is a lot of infrastructural development and all. But I think I have some of her key contributions and challenges. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf made history as the first female African president, serving as Liberia's president from 2006 to 2018. Her leadership played a vital role in bringing stability and peace to Liberia after years of civil war. She prioritized the rebuilding of infrastructure, improving the economy, and promoting gender equality. Johnson Sirleaf's commitment to good governance and transparency earned her international recognition, including the Nobel Peace Prize in 2011 for her non-violent struggle for women's safety and women's rights to full participation in peace-building work. This is exactly what I said, and this is one thing I admire about her. There's a statement she said, I don't want to be a politician. I want to be a good leader, because politicians only talk. They only know how to talk, and talk is cheap. So for me, I feel that alone, if a lot of our leaders can look into this, don't just be a politician, but be a good leader, somebody that is accountable. This woman brought a lot of development to our country, including women, including traders in the market, where you engage in some empowerment programs and all. There's some of the challenges she encountered. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf faced numerous challenges during her presidency. She inherited a country deeply affected by the devastating civil war, along with tasks of rebuilding institutions and infrastructure. Economic development and recovery were hindered due to limited resources and widespread corruption. Additionally, Johnson Sirleaf faced political opposition and criticism from various factions within Liberia. Overcoming these obstacles required strong leadership, determination, and the ability to navigate complex political dynamics to build a more stable and prosperous Liberia. So this is just what she has done. And I believe that in history and history to come, like in future and future generations to come, they will always reference this great woman. Then the next person I have here is Wangari Maathai. So Wangari Maathai, looking at this, I've selected this picture because there's something unique about this woman. Her smiles, like she is known for this particular smile. She's an environmental activist, and she is known as the Eco Warrior. An environmental and women's rights activist from Kenya, she founded the Green Belt movement, promoting environmental conservation and women's empowerment. This is a very, very great woman. Looking at her story, she planted 30 million trees in 30 years. If you look at Kenya in general, when we're talking about African countries, we're talking about environmental conservation, we're talking about ecosystem. I will give it to Kenya. Up to now, we go there for tourists and all that. And who did that? A single woman. Just this woman, this beautiful woman with her smiles, was able to achieve that. She advocated for women empowerment. She was just a normal, just community young girl, grew up in Kenya, but found her way because of the passion and determination she has, and was able to develop herself. She studied, she got scholarship to go to university in US and all that, and she came back and did all this remarkable work. So of course, we can't talk about an activist without bringing Wangari Maathai, because she has done a lot and has motivated people. Now we're talking about climate change. This is what this woman has been advocating for a long time ago. So we give her that credit. The next we have this activist too as well, Miriam Makeba. I'm sure some of us know about her because I remember as a little kid that I was, my parents played a lot of her music. You could listen to her music, you could hear the voice, the power in her voice when she's talking about human rights, talking about discrimination, because we know in South Africa, she's from South Africa. We know that in South Africa, they've struggled with racism too as well. They have the whites and the blacks and all those things. So, but she stood on all grounds to talk about all these issues using her powerful music. So inspiring. Like I could remember, my parents listened to that. And when she sings, you could feel it in your body that a woman is talking, and she's talking with experience, with pains, because Miriam Makeba spent her first 6 months in prison with her mom. Her first 6 months. So she went through a lot. She battled through a lot of challenges from one situation to another. She escaped abuse from her husband too as well. So she struggled a lot. So when she's singing, she used music to advocate for all this. So this is a woman that we can't talk about history of women leaders without talking about Miriam Makeba. And then the next person we have on the artist, which is this great writer, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. She's a renowned Nigerian author who has received international acclaim for her novels addressing gender identity and African culture. Chimamanda is from my country, and I'm proud Nigerian today to mention her as part of the women leaders I'm talking about. She used her story, she used her hands and her brain to tell people, to discuss, to advocate for women equality and all. They call her feminist. Yeah, she always advocates for that. Most of her books, as I said, are talking about gender. There is this, her first book was Purple Hibiscus, which got her one of the best writing award. We know from the Commonwealth Writers Award. That was what she started writing at a very young age. She was born in a family of educated parents. Her dad, I think, was a professor, and also she started writing at a very young age. I had to go back to look at her story. And her dad is a professor who loves reading, and as little as she said, from 6 or so, she started going to her dad's library, reading books and all, and that is where she got her inspiration from. Her parents wanted her to study medicine, but She started medicine, I think, her first year, but she had to go back. She went back to US to study communication or so, of course, like that. And that was when she started writing all her books. Her second book, To Half of a Yellow Sun, she was already narrating what is happening in Nigeria today. She talked about the Biafra, and also she talked about a lot of things, even though we felt that story was incomplete. Then she also have another, her third book, which made history, to Americana, which is talking about race, identity, and migration. We know how Africans struggle when they travel out of their country and all that. So she talked about all that. So she used her book, her writing, to advocate for all this. Of course, we have to mention her when we're talking about we African women leaders. Then this other young lady too as well, who is a singer and a songwriter, Fatoumata Diarra. She's a Malian singer. She's from Mali, singer and songwriter, and also an activist who uses her music to address social issues, gender equality, and the empowerment of women. This particular young lady too grew up in a family where they sing, but because of the challenges they face, such as female genital mutilation, domestic violence, abuse, and all other social issues, she felt, or the family, because they have been singing, music is a way of healing, and music is a way of expressing yourself, a way of speaking out, a way of saying what it is that people go through. So she used her music to do a lot, to say a lot, just like Miriam Makeba. She was talking about gender issues and also, as we said, women empowerment. And due to her music, she has contributed a lot to her country, and not just her country, but Africa in general, because we could reference some of these achievements, what they did to also work on what we are doing. Most of these women are inspirations to us. They are all our role models, and we are really, you're following their footsteps, knowing that it's not easy. We've been through a lot, but if they can do it, we can do it. And the next here is entrepreneurship, which I'm also talking about this beautiful, beautiful woman, beautiful, Folorunshe Alakija. She's also from Nigeria, a Nigerian businesswoman and philanthropist, known for her success in the oil and fashion industry, as well as her advocacy for women empowerment. This woman is around in her 70s, but she doesn't look it. If you look at it, and that is why I always believe that money has a way of making us look young or younger than our age. This woman is a woman that, from her story, she was born in a family. She was born in a polygamous family. Her dad has about 8 wives with 52 children. 52 children, and I think she was number 8. And not from a very wealthy home, because they have a very small house where they could stay and all, but the family were into trading business. They trade, those days, most of our parents were into trading. And that is where she got her own inspiration from. She will go to school, and when she comes back, she meets her mom in the market, help the mom in selling and buying and all. And she was able to say that, yes, she learned a lot of marketing skills, marketing, branding, and all that through her mom. She was able to understand what business is all about. So her opportunity to travel out and move to other countries to study, and also she had opportunity to go there, and she was able to achieve all she could. And she came back to set up her fashion industry. According to her, she loved fashion so much. And Nigeria is a place where we do a lot of textiles, and all. So she used that to start her own business, her own brand. She said 3 weeks after launching her fashion business, 3 weeks after, she was invited to a fashion week to showcase what she has. And she went there, and that was the beginning of her story. And that was when she started, people were recognizing her brand, and she was able to move. Along the line, she found her way into the oil sector. And that's another story again, because when she wanted to go into the oil sector, there was a lot of controversies, a lot. They didn't want to give her, they gave her something. They felt she wasn't going to do well. And she Today, Folorunsho Alakija is one of the richest women in Africa. So this is what entrepreneurship can do, and women empowerment. And that is why personally for me, I always advocate for women empowerment. Because if you look at all the gender issues we're having, domestic violence, gender-based, all have a link to our status, financial status. When a woman is independent, she faces less of this challenge than when a woman is solely dependent on a man. And we know all these things. So for me, women empowerment, key. Folorunsho Alakija is a role model to all of us, and we believe we can start small, from little, and grow to whatever we want to be. She wasn't born rich, she wasn't born into a rich family, but today, her family knows they have one of the greatest assets. And lastly, we have this beautiful young lady, Bethlehem Tilahon Alim. This particular young lady is the founder of Soul Rebels, an Ethiopian footwear company that creates sustainable jobs while preserving cultural heritage. This young lady, I'm so impressed with how far she has gone. She just started her business, not knowing where it's taking her to, starting small. And what inspires her? In her country, Ethiopia, she noticed that there are people who walk long distance without shoes. They walk for miles because they are known for cattle, animal rearers, and all those things. And they walk around without shoes. And she felt that I could do something, but I need to do something that is sustainable and affordable. That is one thing. If we're going into business, you have to consider this: sustainable and affordable. And she started looking at ways she could do this. She talked about used tires. She talked about used tires that she knows that a lot of soldiers use that to use that and walk long distance without having any problem. Then there's also a material I think is found in her country where she felt like if I could combine the two to make shoes, these things will be affordable because I don't have to go outside my country or outside my own home community to get these materials. I could get this, all the things I need are within. So I can get this, produce these shoes and sell to my people so that they can use. Fortunately for her, it worked well. And today, Soul Rebels has branches, outlets across the world. She's doing great in whatever she's doing. And I'm so proud of her because she's truly a young lady who has really worked out all the, through the paths of challenges and whatever she's facing, but to get to where she is. We can't do all these things without facing a lot of challenges, that I know. And that's why I keep telling women, challenges are just pathways to success. And as one of the musicians in Nigeria always say, what is the evidence that you have been trying if you don't achieve success? Success is the only thing that you prove to people that, yes, I've tried and tried and tried. But if you don't achieve success, nobody will know how much you've tried. So we need to keep pushing and keep pushing to change the narratives. Then we have the legacy of influence. This I'm talking about generally African women. We have a lot. Why, as I said, due to time, I was just trying to work on time. I had to just pick key people. African women's contribution have influenced the trajectory of Africa's history, culture, and governance. They have shattered glass ceilings, inspired future leaders, and become role models for generations to come. As I said, these women are role models to us. Our story cannot be complete without their story. Our stories cannot be complete without their stories. Their stories are just a pathway for us to understand that, yes, the struggle started a long time ago, and it's not easy, but people have been there. I looked at these women most times when I read their books or when I read about them, and I consider, what is the difference between myself and them? It's just the power of dedication, focus, resilience, and all. So if they can do it, we can do it. And if we have more women doing this, I feel that our problem will be less. We won't be talking about women empowerment, women and gender rights, or women rights and all that. This is just simple, and we'll have a better world and society to live. Then we have challenges faced. If you notice some of the women leaders, I didn't put their challenges because I was just looking at time. If I'm going to pick each of these women leaders to talk about their challenges, it should take more than an hour. So I had to like summarize, but all in all, the challenges are just similar to all. Despite their achievements, African women have faced many challenges, including gender inequality, discrimination, and limited access to resources. It is crucial to continue working towards creating an environment where African women can strive. We all know that. We are still facing it. We're not yet there. We are still facing some of these challenges, but we are hoping that with time, things will definitely change. Then in conclusion, African women have made incredible contributions throughout history, shaping Africa's trajectory. Their